Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff video. In this, Supercoach Nuff channel even, in this video we're going to do a bit of a live reaction to team lists for round 2 of the 2024 NRL season. But we've still got about 5 minutes until 3, so I thought what we could do quickly is look at the Sportsdeck results. But before we even get to that, I just want to quick shout out, I guess, all of the Supercoach Nuffs community. So we've cracked the 300 subscribers. We're sitting on about 299 going into the draft last night. I was hoping to sort of get it going there, but I had to wait overnight. But we've smashed past it now. So as you can see, 61 in the last 28 days, so that's, it's like 25% of the subscribers. No, sorry, 20%. I can't do math very well. In the last, month, so it's been awesome to see so many people become a part of it. And I guess appreciate all the views, all the comments, and all the subscribes, obviously. But as I said, we'll just quickly touch on the sports deck stuff. So I guess a bit like the format itself, I was sort of halfway between my fantasy and Supercoach scoring with 684, which was top 56%. Obviously, there's not even 3,000 people playing, but the only way is up. So if we do a quick edit of the team, so we had Marshall King in this format, and he scored a 36. So hope for a bit more from him, but I think they were well beaten by the Cowboys, so I'm sure better days will come for the Dolphins. Danny Levi was pretty good though in this format with a 38, obviously including that try that he got. So at his cheap price, that's a good start. So I had Payne Haas as the VC, and I just thought for a laugh I'd loophole, and it turned out to be pretty much the right decision. Because I think just quickly looking through the team, he was the top scorer. So absolutely nailed the VC loophole round 1. Got the hiccups, excuse me. Tino with the 50, he's always good. On the bye this week though, so we'll have to play one of Hughes or Fafita, or we might have to do a trade. So Hughes with a 22, Fafita with a 16. I think Fafita's spot's in a bit of jeopardy, so we might, look to upgrade there. Piakura, obviously, with the head knock was unfortunate, -2. Smithies was fantastic with the 60. Seyfarth was our looper in round 1. We're hoping he gets named in the 13 in about 4 minutes' time. Hopgood and Curran were both good with 45 and 49. I guess, for 300 grand more, we wanted a bit more out of Hopgood. And I guess out of all the sort of guns I've got in this team, he's the one that I'd be more inclined to sort of trade out of. Hines and Cleary with 40 and 42 respectively. So again, sort of halfway between the fantasy and Supercoach scores. Hutcho with 25 on the bench. We could have got 7 more if we played Flanagan, but that's the toss of a coin, that one. Ben Travojevic was obviously awesome with the 62. Ethan Strange a bit less so with the 3. Jamin Salmon with a 25. Bostock with a 32. So that's surprising considering how low he scored in the other formats. But he did quite well in Sportsdeck. And then our wing fullbacks. So Stack in the back didn't quite work out. Ponga with a 29. Paps with 13. Obviously Tommy Travojevic flying the flag for the fullbacks with 58. Tuapiki was good on our bench with 44, and Kinney with a 22, but also on the bye this week. So I guess with the sports deck as well, because there wasn't as many people getting involved, we did a last minute sort of change to the league. We've got 8 teams. I rather ambitiously initially set it to 20. But we've got Stuart, Shoab, Anthony, Wayne, Daniel, Shane, and Michael. So I think Shane might be a bit of a familiar name there. But other than that, Welcome to the Super Coach Enough Sports Deck League. There you go, I've got around that nicely. So the head-to-head stuff will kick off this week. So obviously there was nothing in round one, but the draw has been reassigned for the 8 teams. So got a Field of Dreams this week. Um, so Daniel's team, and just having a quick look, we've got a couple of similar with Haas and Hines. So he's got Taylor May, which is a bit of a concern. Sean Lane and Ruben Cotter, I don't mind those picks. Obviously, Harry Grant's a danger. And Tommy Flegler, he was pretty good on the weekend too. So um, I think if we go to the leagues, we can actually see how everyone went in the first week. If I go to. No, it only does head to head, doesn't do total points. I think I have to go to game day, that's right, head to head. So cut out pass to Daly. Anthony's team was top scorers with 789. So he had the Latrell, Cookie, which returned well. Jackson Paulo was a bit of a punt, didn't quite work out. Haas obviously killed it. Arthur's was solid. Lenu might be a bit of a trade out there. Staggs was probably a bit flat. Frizzell and Hastings quite good. McInnes was average. Reese Robson, brained it for the Cowboys, so nice picks there. No, what did I come? 6 out of 8, so that's not ideal, but I guess it's all dependent on what's happening this week and in future weeks, and we're about to find out. So if I refresh the NRL page, we've got team list for round two. So no sort of big shocks featuring in the image. There's usually some clues there. Just going with some good players. Broncos, Rabbitohs first. So the Broncos, just looking through, looks very much the same. Corey Jensen named to start. I think he was named to start last week, to be fair, or 2 weeks ago now. Piakura back from the head knocks. That's good to see. So pretty much looks unchanged from last week with the Rabbitohs. Jacob Gagai does get another run. That's interesting. Who's on the extended bench? So Tane Milne on the extended bench, but I think if he's named, it's fair to assume that Gagai will play this week. So that's interesting, particularly for fantasy. I sort of avoided him because I thought he was a 1 week buy, but if we can get a couple more weeks out of him, let's load up. But Tallis Duncan named for Jai Arrow, so another interesting option there. We sort of heard a bit of chat in preseason that he would get named in the second row. It looks like he was only one injury away. So welcome to the team, Tallis. And on the bench, I think they might have got rid of Jacob Host. Did he play? I can't remember. I thought they had Host sort of filled in for Arrow on the second row there. But looking at their bench, they've gone with 4 middle forwards essentially. So I guess maybe if they do want to spell Duncan, Murray will move out on the edge for a bit. And I guess also may be moving out on the edge if there's any issues in the backs. But, Cheekham might come into the fold. Perhaps it'll be just one to keep an eye on. But nothing too crazy there, I suppose. Duncan being the big shout. Sharks, Bulldogs. So the Sharks looking very similar. Can't see any changes there. Just no outs. No outs for the Dogs either. That doesn't sound right. Connor Tracy's in on the wing. But their forward pack looks the same. Their bench looks the same. So Connor Tracy just slots straight in on the wing for Addo Carr, which is interesting. I thought maybe Kiraz would play wing and Tracy would play centre. But I guess versatile enough that he can play anywhere. So he's got a spot on the wing. Not one to consider for Supercoach or fantasy, but I guess just interesting to note. So there's a bit of an error there with the changes not included. Panthers Eels. So the Panthers backline looks the same. Forward pack looks the same. Maybe Scott Sorensen back in. And so Sonny Luke getting that bench spot. So I'm not sure. Tyrone Peachy not in the squad, so obviously potentially still injured. Um, so I know I sort of have him in the trap type category. But if he's going to play, maybe he's a chance of repeating his score last week in a team that got 0 points in total. Um, but probably one I still won't go near. And the Eels, again, looking very similar across the board. I think that's the same 17. So, yeah, so I guess the only change in those teams was Kenny in for Summerton. Other than that, I don't know if there's too much fantasy relevance going on there. Other than, of course, the likes of Cartwright was good. Um, Lussick was okay. Moses is playing if you've got him in your halves. Dylan Brown will bounce back, hopefully. So will Cleary. Taylor May, if you like him, you do get a second look at him. So I guess, as much as we talk about these players that we want to get in, um, you get a second look for free in Supercoach this week because their prices won't change until after their third game. So, a lot of people might think, I'll go RTS to May or, one of those other guns that they've brought in for May or Laybut's the other one. But obviously, you can have a second look. And if they crush it again this week, it sort of becomes a no brainer to get the value in and sort of ride the price rises as they come. And I guess, you could include Cartwright in that same sort of category of, riding that wave of his prices if he scores well again this week. Raiders and Tigers. So I guess this will be the interesting one, seeing the Tigers side, but I will just quickly scan through the Raiders first. So Sebastian Chris comes in the centres. Hopewadi shifts to the wing, and Kotrick is out 18th man. So I think there was a bit of chat that was what was going to happen. So for those that picked Rapana at fullback, that's a good shout. Those who picked Hopewadi, or actually Savage, I think is probably more fantasy relevant on the wing. He scored a try last week, which helped. I haven't looked at him too close, but I think now that he's in that quote unquote top team, we'll have a bit of a closer look at him. Forward pack looks the same. So obviously Elliot Whitehead's still a couple of weeks away. If you've got Zach Hosking, you can enjoy that for a bit more. Would you get it? Would you get him in? I don't know. I think he doesn't have that much value, considering he may only have a couple more weeks in the top team, or at least in the starting team. He may revert to the bench and they go away from three middle forwards potentially once Horsburgh comes back as well. So for the Tigers, so Buller at fullback, Staines and Junior Tupou on the wing, Starfatoa and Fatape. So I'm pretty sure he's bottom dollar second or centre wing cheapie in Supercoach. Not sure. I'm guessing he'd be centre in fantasy. So that's a nice bit of value. Lockie Galvin named to start at 6 as well with Jaden Sullivan at halfback. Caesar starting off the bench, so that's very interesting. I just saw his name there at number 14. So Caesar on the bench, Galvin and Sullivan getting the start. So Lockie Galvin at bottom dollar. Um, Obviously in fantasy, in the halves, we can get him in straight away. Um, Starting at the very bottom. Um, with Supercoach, we can wait 3 weeks. Have a good look at him, and if it looks like he's good value, by then I've got Cole Flanagan, for example, so I'll get one bit of cash out of Flanagan, and I may then downgrade and bank 150k or something like that, and then obviously Galvin can start making cash. So definitely one to put on the watch list. Um, so in the forwards, so Bateman's back playing on the edge, which does mean Seyfarth is playing 13, so that's a good result. I do have him in the Sportsdeck Dream Team, but yeah, I guess definitely one to consider for other formats. He's nicely priced in Supercoach and Fantasy, I believe, too. About 350 across the board. So definitely one we could look at. And on the bench, going Bolle, Twal, and Finu along with Caesar. So Um, Finally, probably can play a bit of edge or in the middle. You'd imagine Papali and Bateman could play 80 minutes. Maybe first up, Bateman will sort of get spelled by Fainu. Um, but, I think that's a good result for Alex Seyfarth, that bench as well. Um, so, yeah, definitely so a few, nice looking options there at the Tigers. Who's on their extended bench? Kapoa on the extended bench. He could potentially play centres. Not sure about this Alex Lobb. I'll have to look into him, what he's about. But Jake Simpkin as well can obviously cover hooker if need be. Cowboys Knights. So for the Cowboys, I wouldn't imagine too many changes. Doesn't look like it. So, a couple of people were a bit concerned about Tamalolo Cotter's minutes. I think part of it was because they were killing it against the Dolphins. Um, and Peyton's always concerned about their workloads. So, maybe a tougher game this week against the Knights might see an increase in minutes. So, no need to sweat on them again. Give them another chance. If they flop again, well, then we can change before they lose cash in Supercoach. Obviously, in fantasy, you do have to make a bit more of a snap decision. And for the Knights, it looks like Tom Jenkins has come in for Tuala, who obviously was injured on the weekend and didn't get up. Looks like Dylan Lucas might have fouled his HIA as well. So Kai Pierce Paul starts, Jed Cartwright on the bench. So the tactic to start Kai Pierce Paul as a bit of a slow burn looks like it could have been a good one. But we do get a free look this week before we sort of have to make some decisions in Supercoach. And also, I guess Dylan Lucas could be back in round three, so even more reason to sort of just sit back and have a look and make a decision next week on that. Um, yeah, so I think other than that, that's the same. Yeah, so Dylan Lucas and Twala, the two missing. Cowboys as last week. Storm Warriors. So Jonah Peasant named to start. No Munster on the reserve, so obviously the groin is still an issue. Um, Probably not fantasy super coach relevant, but very good player in NRL terms. So it looks like Joe Chan gets another crack on the edge. Um, Looks like the same team as far as I can tell, 1 to 17. Yeah, no changes. Even the reserve bench looks identical with Blore, Bradley, Fa'alongo just lurking, waiting for a chance. And for the Warriors, I think it's going to be the same team as well. Yep, just looking through that, it's identical. There wasn't anything identified here. So happy days. So Munster's still out. Nelson Asafa Solomona still out. Sean Blore listed as 18th man again. Sea Eagles Roosters. So Tommy Talau comes in for Saab. He's out for about 6 weeks. So no, he is a cheaper centre wing option, but would definitely be keen to have a look, even in fantasy format, just to see how he goes playing on the wing. Ben Travojevic gets another run. I think they said Schuster's going to come through reserve grade, so that looks like the same 17 as far as I can tell, except for Saab. And for the Roosters, well, the big out, Spencer Leniu, but it looks like it's just a straight swap for Warrior Hargraves. So Terrell May still coming off the bench, but I think, we saw the way they're going to use him is very similar to, Josh Curran or even Nathan Brown, I think, played a similar role where they don't start on field, but they come on and they pretty much play the rest of the game after that opening sort of salvo. So definitely one a lot of people are targeting this week, and myself included. Um, but again, we can have another look in Supercoach if we want before we pull the trigger on that sort of trade. And Dolphins and Dragons, I'm pretty sure is the last game of the round. So the Dolphins getting some late action. So Isaiah Katoa looks like he's in for Sean O'Sullivan. Don't know what's happened there. Max Plath at 13. That's super interesting. I'm pretty sure in Supercoach he is like a 278k 5/8. Like less than 300k in the 5/8 spot. So we just talked about Galvin, but you could potentially go Plath and have someone playing in the middle for 50 minutes. Um, in saying that, I know Ray Stone will only miss one game, so perhaps he'll revert to the bench next week. But interesting that he's sort of found his way in it ahead of, say, Kenny Bromwich. Ewan Aitken also, I've just noticed, is in the second row, so a straight swap for Lemuelu. Um, so for those that were interested in Aitken, he might get a little bit of a run there in the second row. So particularly for fantasy, where you can pick him in the centres, he might be a nice little option. And for the Dragons, so the back line looks the same. The front row, Blake Laurie is back. Tom Eisenhuth named on the edge. But then, interestingly, Luciano Leilua and Fatala Marin are named on the bench. So Fafita has sort of slipped down into the reserves. There was a bit of talk about Hame Sele getting a run as well this week, but he's on the extended bench. So it will be interesting to see what Flanagan does. Um, I guess before the last game, he shifted Fatala Mariner onto the edge, and Eisenhuth actually played lock forward. But I did note when I was watching the game that Eisenhuth actually had quite a big role in the team. So he's definitely one with his centre wing, second row flexibility, and seemingly the trust of the coach. He's one that I'm considering for round 3 to trade in for Supercoach. I think he's only second row or edge forward, I should say, in NRL fantasy. So probably not one I'd look at there because like I think his big appeal is that flexibility, and the minutes that he has played through the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of folds out. But yeah, I think Tom Eisenhuth is definitely one to have a look at. Again, not this week, but probably next week. Um, so yeah, don't know what's going on there with the. Oh, I guess no one's out because they dropped down into the reserves. That makes sense. Well, it didn't make sense with the Bulldogs because Addo Carr wasn't in the reserves. But yeah, I understand how that works now. But I think that's it for the teams. So yeah, so as I said, there's definitely some interesting watches this week. If I just quickly go back through, Eisenhuth, Plath, definitely a watch. Aitken, is under consideration. Um, Terrell May from the Roosters, Tommy Talau, going back through. I don't think there was anyone different from the Storm, so Joe Chan is the one to watch. Maybe Tom Jenkins and Kai Pierce Paul from the Knights. The two young guns from the Tigers, and I might have a look at where they can sort of squeeze into my fantasy team. I think, given they're in the starting team. Going back through, guess just all the guns from Penrith and Para. Connor Tracy at the Dogs is the new one, and Jacob Gagai maybe as well there at the Roost. Tallis Duncan at the Rabbitohs rather. But yeah, we'll wrap the video up there. I guess this is literally just the initial reactions. So tomorrow we'll have a bit of a analysis video. I'm still tweaking, I guess the way I want to sort of present it. But yeah, we'll sort of reveal all that tomorrow. We'll have the round previews on Thursday where I'll go through my specific moves, and sort of preview what's going on that weekend, and we'll go from there. So if you enjoy I guess this sort of content, the live reaction and discussion on the teams, give the video a like. Or if you've got any thoughts or comments related to it, feel free to comment below this video. Like I said, join the 306 people that have subscribed if you haven't yet done so. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.